Algeria International. It's time for the news.
In today's top story, Algeria has reiterated its solidarity with the Sahrawi people in their legitimate struggle for self-determination. The UN Special Rapporteur on the Right to Peaceful Assembly and Association, Clément Voulet, has hailed the Algerian authorities' willingness to further promote human rights by seeking international expertise for this purpose. And in Iraq, at least 113 people have been killed in a fire that ripped through a wedding celebration in the northern part of the country. Hello and welcome on Radio Algeria International. I'm Jamal Othmani. The Speaker of the National People's Assembly, Ibrahim Boughali, has reiterated Algeria's solidarity with the Sahrawi people in their legitimate struggle for self-determination, saying that this position stems for Algeria's constant principles and its efforts under the leadership of the President of the Republic to establish peace and security in the region. Ibrahim Boughali was speaking at a ceremony to award diplomats to the first class of deputies from the Sahrawi National Council who had taken part in a training session at the APN. On this report, Ibrahim Boughali reaffirmed the willingness to exchange expertise and experience with its CNS counterparts in order to consolidate relations between the two peoples who share honorable positions and principles based on the struggle for freedom and dignity. The Minister of Relations with the Parliament, Bisma Aswar, has received a delegation of MPs from the National Council of the Sahrawi Republic at the ministry headquarters, to whom she reaffirmed Algeria's position in support of the Sahrawi cause and the Sahrawi people's right to self-determination in accordance with the decisions of the Security Council. During this meeting, which was part of the training session supervised by the National People's Assembly for Sahrawi parliamentarians, the minister reiterated Algeria's position in favor of the Western Sahara cause, a position which remains anchored, unchanging and consistent with the decisions of the Security Council and the relevant resolutions. The UN Special Rapporteur on the Right to Peaceful Assembly and Association, Clément Voulet, has welcomed in Algiers the Algerian authorities' willingness to further promote human rights by seeking international expertise for this purpose. The UN Rapporteur also welcomed the fact that the Algerian government has undertaken to invite other rapporteurs to come to Algeria for expert and seeking this step as an opening to build a new Algeria that enshrines freedom and human rights. He also said that he had sensed the readiness of the Algerian authorities to listen to and appreciate his preliminary observations, which will enable him to draw up a final report on the subject in 2024, a period during which the debate will continue with the government on various points raised during his 10-day visit to Algeria, where he met members of the government, heads of constitutional bodies, and representatives of civil society, among others. Now, the Army Chief of Staff General Said Shingriha has received his Italian counterpart, Guido Cruzito, here in Algiers. U.S. Ambassador to Algeria Elizabeth Moore-Oppen, who was on a visit to the eastern province of Tizi Ouzou, was the guest of the regional radio of Tizi Ouzou. In an interview there, she evoked the Algerian-U.S. relations at the political and economic levels, recalling the two countries' common vision regarding the crisis in Niger, Mali, and Western Sahara as well.
So it's a great demonstration of where we're going, both politically and economically. We're trying to deepen and enlarge our relationship. We're working with each other on issues in the Sahel region and cooperating and collaborating on how to move forward with the situation in Niger, in Mali, in Libya. There are lots of issues that we can work on together, and we're doing so. We also agree with Algeria that the best solution for the situation in Western Sahara is the United Nations personal envoy, Staffan de Mistura's efforts to find a dignified solution for the Sahrawi people. So we work on all of these things together. These deepening conversations show the interest that both the United States and Algeria have in moving forward together, and we're thrilled to be able to have this time of reinforcing a very historic and important bilateral relationship.
Regarding the Algerian-U.S. economic relations, she said that increasing bilateral economic relations was one of her priorities.
So this is a very important priority of mine, is to expand and deepen the U.S.-Algeria economic relationship. It's a dynamic one. Our two-way trade has doubled every year for the last 3 years, and I want to continue to double that number. Over 100 U.S. companies operate here in Algeria. And so in our model, we transfer technology, we hire Algerians, and you'll find at the head of many U.S. companies in Algeria an Algerian country manager. In 2020, the IMF said that Algeria, the U.S., was the largest foreign direct investor in Algeria. I'd like to continue to increase that amount as well. And I discuss our economic partnership and our bilateral trade relationship, and had a great conversation, in fact, with President Tebboune about that 2 weeks ago. We both agree that increasing our bilateral economic relationship will be win-win for our two countries.
Speaking about the Algiers New York direct flight, the U.S. ambassador to Algeria had this to say.
You know, a direct flight from Algeria to the United States, would it be an incredible driving force that would catapult our economic relationship to an entirely new level? It would also do the same for our people-to-people ties, because not having to stop in a European city and wait for 8 hours for your connection, but getting to New York, let's say, from Algiers in 8.5 hours, would be an incredibly motivating factor for people to buy from the U.S., buy from Algeria, increase our trade, our tourism numbers. It would facilitate, of course, travel for both U.S. business people, Algerian business people, but also Algeria is about to take its seat at the UN General Assembly on the Security Council. Wouldn't it be great to have a direct flight directly into the United Nations?
The U.S. ambassador to Algeria, Ms. Elizabeth Moore-Aubin, talked about importing 2 different kinds of bovine genetics.
This is a very critical part of our economic relationship. President Tebboune told me when I first came to Algeria in February of 2022 that his number one priority was food security. And so I have been working very hard from the U.S. side on achieving advances in that area of our relationship. So what's happened since then? We've gotten 2 certificates to import 2 different kinds of bovine genetics. This will help enormously here in Algeria with both dairy cows and beef. This is in addition to the genetics that we have been importing for the last 15 years or so for chicken and turkey.
That was U.S. Ambassador to Algeria Elizabeth Moore-Aubin, who was the guest of the regional radio of Tizi Ouzou. The Minister of Religious Affairs has said that the celebration of the Mawlid Nabawi Sharif is authorized from a religious point of view and an occasion to recall the values of the Prophet and instill them in the new generation. Algeria, like the rest of the Islamic nations, celebrates each year the anniversary of the birth of the Prophet Muhammad. This is an opportunity to recall the life of the Prophet and his high values and to instill the morals and values of a good Muslim in a new generation. This was said by the minister in a statement to the press at the end of a study day entitled The Humanism of the Prophet Muhammad, May the Salvation of Allah be upon him. At least 113 people have been killed and more than 150 injured in a fire that ripped through a wedding celebration in Iraq's northern Nineveh province, local officials and emergency services said. The fire was reported to have started on Tuesday night. More details with Said Bouazi.
The provincial governor of the province of Nineveh cautioned early today that there were no final casualty figures yet from the blaze, which suggests the death toll still may rise. Iraq's official INA news agency reported earlier that more than 150 people were also injured in the blaze, which engulfed an event hall in the province's Hamdaniya district, where the wedding celebration was taking place. Iraq's civil defense authorities said in a statement earlier today that preliminary information indicates that fireworks were used during the wedding, which triggered a fire in the hall. According to reporters, fireworks are a common feature of wedding celebrations in Iraq, and that some 1,000 people were reported to have been present at the celebration when the fire broke out. Flammable material used in the construction of the event hall is suspected to have contributed to the huge blaze. Iraq's civil defense also reported the presence of prefabricated panels at the event hall that were highly flammable and contravened safety standards. The danger was compounded by the release of toxic gases linked to the combustion of the panels, which contained plastic. Images from the aftermath of the fire showed emergency workers clambering over rubble and the collapsed roof with twisted and charred metal at the gutted event hall. Iraq's Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani ordered an investigation into the fire and asked the country's Interior and Health Ministry officials to provide relief, his office said in a statement online.
In the burning Middle East issue, 11 people were today injured by live bullets, another hit by a gas bomb in the head, and others suffered suffocation after the Israeli occupation forces targeted protests that resumed at the Gaza border. Said Bougazi has the details in this report.
A correspondent from Wafa news agency said that the occupation soldiers stationed on the border fence opened fire and shot tear gas canisters at dozens of people who demonstrated near the fence east of Gaza City in the north and east of Rafah in the south of the Gaza Strip, which led to the injury of 11 people with live bullets and a boy with a tear gas canister, while others suffocated from inhaling tear gas. Meanwhile, Zionist occupation drones attacked several locations in the Gaza Strip, causing damage but no injuries. The protests continue for the 11th day in a row in various locations in the eastern Gaza Strip against the tight Israeli siege imposed on the Gaza Strip for the last 17 years and against the occupation's continuous crimes against the Palestinian people, holy places and prisoners. Meanwhile, the Palestinian Prisoners Club has denounced the imprisonment by the Zionist occupation forces of Palestinians injured during incursions and demonstrations. In a statement quoted by the Wafa news agency, the club said that there are now 60 Palestinian detainees in the jails of the Zionist occupation who are suffering from injuries. Among these detainees are women and children, the club said, noting that the Zionist prison administration deliberately applies medical negligence against them. In another development, the Council of Ministers of Culture of the Islamic world, at its meeting held in Doha, Qatar, has chosen the Palestinian city of El Khalil as the capital of Islamic culture for the year 2026. Minister of Culture Atif Abu Saif said El Khalil was nominated to shed light on the Israeli attempts to Judaize the city, steal its heritage and antiquities, and change its Arab Islamic identity.
You're listening to the English service of Radio Algeria International. I invite you now to listen to the first part of an interview with Algerian singer, composer and guitar player Jamel Laroussi about the artist's journey and also his new song, The Mask. The interview is conducted by Asya Bikar and produced by Mohammed Yousfi.
Our Talk. A weekly program with guests activated in different fields.
Chaque fois que je pense à elle, la plaie revit et ça fait mal. Tout à coup c'était le soleil, sans abri tout devient fatal. Oh mon Dieu comme elle était belle, en la voyant tout devenait pâle. Étoile filante dans mon sommeil, je trouvais dans mes nuits une rivale. Moi ya Jilali, moi ya Jilali dawi hal, moi ya Jilali dawi hal, moi ya Lali.
Hello, dear listeners, and welcome on our waves. In our talk today, we have a very special guest known throughout all Algeria and Europe as well. Algerian singer, composer, songwriter, and of course, guitar player Jamal Aroussi. We are so happy to have you in our studio.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you so much. So our listeners know your music and songs, but not necessarily the young artist who was fond of art. And could you tell us about your childhood and the beginning of your love for art?
It's not complicated, you know. When you are a musician, normally you should be born musician, you know. I think I was born musician. Because when I was very young, I already loved music. Mm-hmm. My mother used to sing. In my family, we used to hear music, not too much, but quite a lot.
What kind of music?
All kind of music, huh? All kind of music. My sisters and my brothers, they were hearing like pop music, funk music, and also Algerian music, of course. My mother used to sing a lot, you know, while cooking, like Kabil songs. She's from Bijaya, my mother, and also like Algerian songs in general. And so I grew up like I was the only one who wanted to play an instrument. So I have been in the conservatory, learning Andalus music. It was a great time, but I didn't have the opportunity to have an instrument. So I was like very sad that I couldn't get a mandolin, you know. So I stopped, and all my friends, they were like having instruments like guitars and whatever, and I didn't have an instrument, and it was like it was a shame, you know. For me, I felt like bad. So I stopped going to this conservatory, and then later on I got a guitar like a gift from my uncle, the brother of my mother, and he brought me a guitar. So I started to learn on this guitar. But when I remember, this guitar was really very hard to play. But because I didn't know that it was very hard to play, it was for me normal. Mm-hmm. So you can do anything. When it's not forbidden, everything is possible. Yeah. So this guitar was really not meant for a young boy like me, you know. So, but I couldn't challenge the situation. Mm-hmm. So I learned to play with a hard guitar. So later on, when I had an electric guitar, it was so easy to play, because the electric guitar is really easy to play.
You learned the hard way.
Yeah. I learned it the hard way, yes. And so it was like, wow, why is it so easy to play on this electric guitar? So I learned just by hearing out the songs, you know. And I used to hear a lot of like Beatles songs and Michael Jackson music, whatever, pop music. Huh? And of course, our music, our Algerian music is very rich. It's even in terms of rhythm, it's really more complicated than any pop music. But we are not like we don't know it really when we are here. So once I have gone to Germany and studied music there, I realized how rich our music is.
Yeah. So the first instrument that you fell in love with, if you can say so, was the guitar?
No, it was the piano. But I didn't have the opportunity to have a piano, because the piano, you know, is really, really expensive. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have a mandolin, so you can imagine that I couldn't have a piano. And I had like a gift of my mother when I was like 6 years old, like a small piano, you know. It was like 30 centimeters long, you know. So my family noticed that I have some skills in music, because I could play all melodies I hear, of course Algerian melodies. And but after like 2 years, I lost my small piano, so I stopped. And then I started to play harmonica. You know.
We're still talking about childhood.
Yeah, and then it was like after a while it was broken, So I couldn't play it anymore. And then I got another plastic piano, so it was like really for children. It was like very bad quality. So I had it like 3 months, and I was like, oh, I want an instrument. I always want an instrument. And I felt in love with clarinet, you know. And the clarinet, I had like one plastic one. It was like for small children, you know, just clarinet, like a bad one. So I learned it also, but I never had a real instrument until I got this kind of difficult guitar from my uncle. It was like the beginning of my career, let's say.
Yeah. How old were you?
I was like, I don't know, I was like 13 or 14, you know. So I started to play with this acoustic guitar. It was very hard, and it was very pleasing in the same time, because I used to come back from school and I was like just playing guitar like crazy. Like, and then after when I understood that it's like a serious thing, I was like working like 15 hours a day, you know, guitar. You know? So.
What about school?
Yeah, the school, my father was very, very hard with us, you know, so I couldn't go outside if I wouldn't have like very good notes at school. So I was like somehow, I would say, obliged to be good at school, to go and play outside with my friends, you know. So I was like good at school, not because I wanted it. I was forced.
You had to.
I had to. Yeah. No way with my father.
So this regards the instruments that you wanted to play when you were a kid.
Yes.
What about songwriting?
Songwriting, yes. The first song I wrote.
And singing.
Yes, the first song I wrote, I was like 15. You know, perhaps like 14. I start like playing melodies and creating some new melodies. And I found it ridiculous, of course, and I found like some strange chords on the guitar, like chords that we don't normally play, because we normally play like C major, G major, whatever. And I was like finding a chord called, for the people who are hearing us and know the music, it was like A minor 6. So I discovered this chord like by chance. And then I composed a song, English song. I was singing in English, and I was like, I feel ridiculous, you know. But I
remember the lyrics?
Yes, I think I remember the lyrics. It was like about love, of course, because I've been hearing like a lot of Beatles songs, and there was all about love, you know. So, but I don't really remember. But I recorded it later on, and I should bring it out one day, you know. So it was the first composition ever. So thank you for the interview. I completely forgot.
Reminded you.
Yeah. Really. I will remember the name. I know it anyway.
Okay. We'll wait for that. So you are the first, not only Algerian, but African artist to be admitted to the prestigious university or music university of Cologne in Germany. How did that make you feel?
I didn't know it in the beginning until a guy came to the university where I was studying, and he told me, "Are you Jamel Laroussi?" I said yes. He told me, "I would like to make an interview with you." It was like WDR radio. It's like an important radio in Germany, and it was not far away from this university. And he told me, "Do you know that you are the first African ever here?" I said, "Really?" I didn't know. Okay, so I made an interview. I was happy about it, but years later I was like a little proud to be the first African to be admitted in that school, because it was really hard to be accepted.
Yeah.
It was like, I remember when I had my exams, it was, you have to to make an exam, a theoretical exam, and then if you are good in the theory, so you can play for like 5 teachers, like jury, you know, and they took like three guys. We were like 400 or something. So a lot of people, you know, there are a lot of guitarists on this planet, you know. But like trumpet is like less students, you know. Perhaps there are like 50 or something, and drummers also not a lot, but more than trumpet players. But guitar players, so many, you know. And but my mindset was not even to compare myself to anyone. I was like very surprised to hear this guy playing while we were waiting for our tour, you know. And they were great musicians, great guitar players. But and I say, oh wow, I don't know if I will be accepted, but my mindset was like, I will be accepted, you know.
But you were not only accepted, but you were among the best at your university, right?
Afterwards, yes, I had like the best notes. It doesn't mean that I am the best, but I had the best notes, you know. Because the other ones, you know, like in every discipline, you know, if you are not serious enough, you are not going to shine, you know. You can shine, but you're not especially good, you know. Yes.
So, though you've been living in Germany for decades, Algeria is still strongly present in your music. Is that intended?
Yes, of course. It's present in my chromosomes, everywhere, in my bones, in my blood, you know. So when you live in Algeria, like your childhood and everything, so you are so Algerian, you cannot become German, you know. Not anything. It was in the beginning, not, of course, because, you know, when you are in Algeria, you don't like what is in your country. I mean, not Algeria. Any in general, when I see German
young
friends,
people.
No, I mean also German people. You know, in Germany they don't like classic music. The normal German people, if they come to Algeria or they go to Africa, they want to learn African music, and they say, oh, classic music is like, you know, it's their music, but you always realize the treasure you have once you are away from it, you know. So once I started to study and to play rhythms of my country in Germany, I realized how complicated it is for them to play our music, and it was like, for me, unbelievable that they don't understand the easiest rhythms we use here. So I started to mix up our music with like jazz music, with pop music, with classic music, and it made like my music, you know. It's like a mixture of different styles.
Yeah.
So I love mixing different how you say, like
music styles.
Yeah, music styles, exactly.
Yeah.
زينة 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 أرض بلادي زينة 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 أرض جدادي مرحبا بالضيف لي جا زارنا زارنا أرض بلادي مرحبا بالضيف لي جا زارنا زارنا أرض جدادي بويرة بسكرة جاية سوق هراستي جل غردايا باتنا